5 mini palettes. I had to limit myself to 5, but honestly, there was only 5 that I could pick because I'm obsessed with them. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to today's video. Today, we are talking about my obsession, my mini palettes. I'm talking today about my top 5 mini eyeshadow palettes, and these are ones that I am just so completely obsessed with. These are my favorite mini eyeshadow palette. If you guys like unfiltered makeup opinions and honest reviews, please consider subscribing to my channel. Hit that like button so it pushes me through the algorithm, and let's talk about my obsessive nature with these eyeshadow palettes. I'm saving the one that I'm most obsessed with for last. So know that that is like, I'm obsessed with some of the ones that are like at the end of this video. So stay tuned for those. Actually, I'm looking at these and I'm like, there's a lot of neutral mini palettes in here. And I'm like, what is going on with me? But let's talk about one that's not neutral. Well, it is. It's a little bit neutral. It's a little bit neutral, so don't come for me. It does have some neutral shades in it, but it's such a great formula. I have done like a full video on this of doing a whole testing and reviewing of this eyeshadow palette, and that was actually a while ago, but I'll see if I can try and leave it either in the eye or in the description box down below. But we're talking about the Tresluce Beauty I Am Alma palette. Now, I feel like this brand is a little bit underrated because nobody talks about it. Tresluce Beauty. It's by Becky G. And the eyeshadow palette, I Am Alma. This one I received in a BoxyCharm. It is a 6-pan mini eyeshadow palette, and it is neutral with a twist. I actually have a whole video of like neutral with a twist palettes, but I didn't include that one in there because it's a mini palette. I was looking more at like palettes that are larger, that, have more of a neutral color story with a twist to it. I didn't really consider this one for that video because it's a mini palette, and I was saving it for this video. But this palette is stunning. I tried this palette and all I can say is that the mattes blend out seamlessly, beautifully, and the foils are very pigmented and very easy to put on. The last time that I remember doing a really dramatic, like actually like foiled, almost colorful look with this, I actually used this shade all over my inner corner and I did almost like a cut crease with it. And it was just such a beautiful eyeshadow look that I did. And that was the last time I did something super dramatic, but I do a lot of like neutral looks with it. But I like this palette. It's one of my go-to favorite minis because you can actually use the colors or you can use the neutrals and you can get a really neutral, like glam look, a very easy neutral look, or you can get like a colorful look. It's 6 shades, it's cruelty free, and it is vegan friendly, and it's made with blue agave from Mexico. So it is by Becky G. It's the I Am Alma palette. If I remember right, it retails for like 20 something dollars. Very high quality, beautiful shades. I love this. It's so easy to travel with. So like if you're looking for a mini palette to travel with, I think this one is like it definitely ticks all the boxes for what I'm looking for in a palette when it comes to traveling. This was actually a Christmas 2022 release. At one point, it was still up on the Sigma Beauty website, and as I'm filming this, you can still technically purchase it. So keep that in mind. If it's not up when I post this, we're in trouble. But I'm talking about the Warm Wishes palette from Sigma Beauty. I love this palette so much. It is 6 shades. It is the classic Sigma Beauty formula, and it also came with a face duo, which was a blush and highlight duo. And this, I'll have to show you because like the whole set was just so beautifully like curated. But this is like one of my go-to mini travel palettes. I love it because you have a really nice range of mattes that are cool toned and warm toned. Then you also have a gold shade in here. You have a very light, beautiful shade that you can use for inner corner, or if you want to do a cut crease, if you want to be more glam or not so glam, you can also go grungy with some of the darker shades in here. And it's just it's a beautiful palette. Like it's so fun to play with. It's very thin, so it's easy to travel with, but this is like, I was obsessed with this palette at the beginning of 2023, just absolutely obsessed with it. I got so much use out of it. It's just so fun, and I'm looking at these foil shades and I'm like, I want to put some of you on my lid because the foil shades in Sigma's shadows are just, they're they're so stunning. And they can be so foily and so like, sometimes they're foily, sometimes they're very like satin feeling, but it's such a beautiful palette. And I believe that this is still available on the Sigma Beauty website. I did just recently go on a trip. I I went to Manchester, Vermont. I packed my travel bag. I have a whole travel vlog, packing my bag, everything, so go check that out. And in that bag, I had 2 eyeshadow palettes that I've been traveling a lot with lately, but I'm actually just, like, obsessed with these eyeshadow palettes. The first one would have to be one that I received in a BoxyCharm. I was actually really pleasantly blown away by this palette because I love it so much, and it is the Alloy palette from Natasha Denona, and this is one of her 5-pan eyeshadow palettes, but it's not a mini version, it's like the in-between version. These pan sizes, I believe, are the same size as the ones that you find in her midi palettes, which is like the 15 shade eyeshadow palettes. But you get 5 shades from Natasha Denona. Typically, like the BoxyCharm exclusive ones, you can sometimes find on her website, sometimes not, but I'm obsessed with this palette. It pairs actually beautifully with the next palette that I will mention, and if you guys have seen my travel vlog video, you know what palette you know what palette I'm talking about. But this palette in particular, I found really ironic because it's very similar to it's like a very condensed version of her bronze palette. Her bronze large 15 pan eyeshadow palette. And then she also released a 3-shade bronze mini palette this year, which is literally 3 of the shades in this palette. Suntan, which is this shade right here, is actually in that bronze, the mini bronze palette. And then I believe that there's a really similar shade to this in there, and then there's a really similar shade to this in there. And honestly, if you have the Alloy palette, if you have this one from BoxyCharm, you don't need it. But this is definitely like a condensed version of the bronze palette, and it comes with a cool tone. It comes with like a nice bronze shade over here. We have this shade, which is actually kind of like a peachy shade, but it's really warm in undertone. Then you have this one, which is like a brick reddish brown. And then you have this shade over here, which is like it's a lighter gold. It's definitely a coppery gold shade. If you guys have seen Copper Eyes, like this would be the perfect palette for it. I love that, and I love pairing it with the Natasha Denona Mini Starlette palette. Who is shocked and awed? I actually did a lot of tutorials with this. I did a full swatch video. I did a review video. Many people feel like the Mini Starlette palette is like the mini version of the I Need a Nude palette, which it kind of is, but this one has more, it has like purpley tones. It has those peachy tones. But honestly, I mean, you could consider it kind of like a smaller version of the I Need a Nude palette. I know a lot of people were saying that, but you can buy this little palette for $27 on Sephora. I believe it's also at Ulta, and it comes with just a very like neutral range, and they don't go very deep, and that's why I like pairing it with this palette because it creates that dimension that I'm looking for. But honestly, like I'm obsessed with this palette. I am specifically obsessed with this shade right here, which is Galaxia. Apparently that shade is in the retro palette. I don't have that shade, but I love this shade because it does this beautiful, like, almost wet shift in it, and it's just so fun to play with and so fun to do, like, a one and done shade, or you add it to a neutral look like this with just a little bit of something in the crease, and it really amps up your makeup. And then it also has, like, a true rose gold shade, which I love. I love a rose gold shade, and that one is actually called Rhea, and I love it. It's such a beautiful palette. When I'm traveling, these 2 are my go-to palettes because they are plastic, so they're durable, and then they also are pretty small, so they fit in my Ally Glines bag. Like, they're just they're awesome. Like, the last palette, technically, could you consider this a mini palette because it's 9 shades? The rest of these are like, well, one's 6 shades, 2 or 6 shades, 2 or 5 shades. This one's a 9-shade eyeshadow palette, but I still consider it a mini because of the size of it and the size of the pans, and it's not a typical 9-shade eyeshadow palette where it's, like, huge. And we're talking about the Huda Beauty Matte Obsessions. I am obsessed with this palette. I actually just did a speed review of this eyeshadow palette, and to say I'm obsessed is definitely an understatement. I don't go for warm eyeshadow looks, like, ever. I'm definitely a cool tone person, but this was on sale on the Sephora website for $16. I don't know why. And I picked it up because I was like, okay, let's see what the down hype was about it. This actually received a really bad reviews. People were not impressed with the formula at all. They weren't impressed with the cream formula. They didn't like it. And After trying it, I definitely am one of those people who has an unpopular opinion about it. I honestly feel like this is like the perfect combination of cream and powder formulas. It has 2 creams in here. You have this shade down here and then this shade. I love using this shade even as like an eyeshadow base, or if I just want to brighten up the inner corner, it's really easy to use. And then you pop, I like popping a shimmer over it. Like it's just so pretty. And then you have this cream shade up here, which is a warm brown shade, but it is so pretty when you use a winged liner brush. Like I have one from Sigma Beauty. I use that and I love just using a wing liner and using that as a wing liner. Like that's what it's for. Honest. I don't use it as an eyeshadow so much. I only use it as a winged liner. And the same for the powder one down here. Sometimes I will actually set the cream with the powder and it just deepens it up a little bit more. But overall, like when I think of a pumpkin spice eyeshadow, when I think of the holidays, when I think of, Thanksgiving, I think of this eyeshadow palette, just warm neutrals with some burnt oranges, some like really deep, dark, warm brown shades, and this is literally it. This is it. And it is so beautiful. I'm currently obsessed with this eyeshadow palette. Like it's beautiful. And I honestly can say that like it is a mini eyeshadow palette because if you look at the I Am Alma palette, the I Am Alma palette is actually bigger than the Huda Beauty. It is longer and it's almost the same width. So like you can definitely tell that like yes, it may be a 9 shade eyeshadow palette. It does give you some more range of shades, but it's definitely still to me a mini eyeshadow palette and it's beautiful. It's absolutely stunning. Huda is going to be having a Black Friday sale, so if you guys haven't checked this one out, I definitely highly recommend it. It was also in my Sephora sale recommendations. I think it's beautiful. There we have all of my favorites, my top 5 mini eyeshadow palettes. Like, yes, there's only 5, but they are my top 5 mini eyeshadow palettes. These are all travel friendly. Some of them are neutral, but they also have like some really standout shades to me that I just can't get enough of. And I definitely have one that is like the top favorite right now, which would have to be a Beauty Warm Obsessions. Thank you guys so much for watching this video and staying tuned to the end. If you guys are new here and you made it to the end, please consider subscribing and hitting that like button down below. And let me know. Let me know what are some of your favorite mini palettes that I didn't mention that you think I should try out. Thanks guys for watching, and I hope I get to see you again. Bye!